Nobody told you the game was rigged before you even started playing, and by the time you figured it out, you were already losing. If you were born in 1995, you hit every wall at the worst possible time. You were too young to understand the 2008 crash, but old enough to feel it at home. You graduated into a job market that was still broken. You were handed student debt like it was a gift, and then, just when things started looking up, a pandemic wiped out the ground beneath you. This video is not a list of complaints. It's a timeline. A real, honest look at every single moment society handed you a choice. That wasn't really a choice at all. Stay until the end, because the last part is the one nobody talks about. You were born in 1995. That means you showed up in a world that was already mid-sentence. The internet existed, but it was slow and weird. Cell phones were becoming a thing, and your parents, depending on where you grew up, were either just getting stable or already one paycheck away from not being stable at all. Here's something most people skip over: the zip code you were born in. The neighborhood, the school district, the income of your parents predicted more about your future than almost anything else. A Harvard study found that where you grow up affects your income as an adult more than almost any personal decision you'll ever make. So before you even took your first steps, the game was already halfway played. You didn't choose your school. You didn't choose your teachers. You didn't choose whether your parents had time to read to you at night or whether they were working 2 jobs just to keep the lights on. And yet, somehow, when things go wrong later, it's always your fault. You go to school. You sit in a chair for 7 hours a day. You're told to memorize things, repeat them back, and get graded on how well you can copy information onto a piece of paper. Nobody asks if you're a good thinker. Nobody checks if you're creative or kind or great with your hands. The system measures one thing: how well you perform inside the system. And if you couldn't sit still, you got labeled. ADHD diagnoses in the US exploded during the late 90s and early 2000s. Between 1997 and 2006, ADHD diagnosis rates went up by about 3% every single year. A lot of kids born in 1995 were put on medication not because they were broken, but because the classroom wasn't built for how they actually worked. You were also being shaped by something else: TV, video games, early internet. Screens were everywhere. And the content you consumed told you very specific things about what success looked like. Big house, nice car, popular, confident, thin, rich. You were 10 years old watching that. It planted seeds. You're 13 in 2008, old enough to notice something is wrong. Not old enough to understand what a mortgage-backed security is, but you saw it. Maybe your dad got laid off. Maybe your mom started picking up extra shifts. Maybe the family dinners got quieter. Maybe you moved. Maybe a friend at school stopped showing up because their family lost their home. The 2008 financial crisis wiped out $11 trillion in household wealth in the US. That's not a number. That's millions of families who had something and then didn't. And the people who caused it? The banks, the executives, the people signing off on loans they knew would fail. Most of them kept their jobs. Some of them got bonuses. You were 13. You didn't understand all that. But your nervous system did. You learned something that year that nobody taught in school. The people at the top don't fall the same way the people at the bottom do. That lesson stayed with you. Now you're 17, and suddenly everyone around you is asking the same question: where are you going to college? Not, what do you want to do with your life? Not, what are you good at? Not, have you thought about whether college even makes sense for you? Just, where are you going? The pressure is everywhere. Your school pushes college because their reputation depends on it. Your parents push college because that's what they were told success looks like. Society pushes college because without a degree, doors close before you even knock. So you apply, you get in somewhere, and then comes the number. The average cost of a 4-year college in the US in 2013, when kids born in 1995 were enrolling, was around $30,000 per year at a private school. Public schools were cheaper, but still climbing fast. Tuition had gone up over 1,000% since the 1980s. Not a typo, over 1,000%. And the solution everyone offered? Loans. Just take the loans. It's an investment in yourself. So you sign papers at 18 years old. Before you've ever paid rent, before you've ever had a real job, before you actually understand what $40,000 in debt feels like. And you commit to a financial decision that will follow you for the next 10 to 20 years. In 2020, total US student loan debt passed $1.7 trillion. The people holding most of that debt? Millennials, people born in the 90s, people exactly like you. And here's the part that hurts. A lot of the degrees people paid for didn't lead to the jobs they were promised. You studied hard, you graduated, and then you found out the entry-level job in your field pays $35,000 a year and requires 3 years of experience you don't have. You graduate. You move back home, or you move into a tiny apartment with 3 roommates, or you take a job that has nothing to do with what you studied. The job market in 2017, when most 1995 babies were graduating, was better than 2008, sure, but wages hadn't kept up. The Economic Policy Institute found that despite productivity going up by over 70% since 1979, wages for average workers only went up about 12% when you adjust for inflation. Translation: you were working more efficiently than any generation before you, and getting paid less for it in real terms. And rent. Let's talk about rent. In 1985, the average American spent about 24% of their income on housing. By the time you were trying to rent your first apartment in the mid-2010s, that number was closer to 35 to 50% in most major cities. Some cities were worse: San Francisco, New York, Los Angeles. If you wanted to live where the jobs were, you paid almost half your income just to have a place to sleep. So you hustle, you pick up a side job, you freelance, you drive for Uber on weekends, you sell things online. The gig economy, which sounds like freedom, but often means no health insurance, no job security, and no paid time off, becomes your second income. And everyone calls you lazy. Everyone says your generation doesn't want to work hard. Everyone says you just need to stop buying coffee. You're 25. And social media is no longer just something you check. It's where you live. Instagram launched in 2010. You were 15. By the time you're 25, it's a full-on highlight reel of everyone's best moments, best bodies, best vacations, and best relationships. You know it's fake. You know people only post the good stuff. But knowing something and feeling something are different things. Studies from the American Psychological Association show that heavy social media use is linked to higher rates of anxiety, depression, and lower self-esteem, especially in people who grew up with it. And people born in 1995 were the first generation to spend their entire teenage years and young adulthood with social media as a constant background. Noise. You compare your bank account to someone's vacation photos. You compare your apartment to someone's new house. You compare your relationship to someone's engagement post. And because algorithms are designed to show you things that make you feel something, usually inadequacy, the feed is never neutral. It's always pushing you toward wanting more, being more, performing more. Meanwhile, you're just trying to pay rent. Now comes the checklist. Society hands you a list, unspoken but loud, of things you're supposed to have done by 30. Stable career, your own place, in a serious relationship, maybe engaged, saving for retirement, healthy, fit, traveling, but also saving, but also enjoying life, but also being responsible. And if you're not hitting those marks, you feel it. Family dinners get awkward. Someone asks when you're getting married. Someone else asks when you're having kids. A coworker buys a house and suddenly you feel behind on a race you never signed up for. A Pew Research study found that in 2021, only 44% of young adults aged 18 to 29 were living independently, either alone or with a partner. The majority were living with parents or roommates. Not because they were lazy, because the math didn't work. The average age of first-time home buyers in the US hit 36 in 2023, the highest ever recorded. That's up from 29 in the 1980s. People aren't refusing to grow up. The price of growing up has just gone up faster than incomes ever did. And then March 2020. You're 24 or 25. Maybe you finally have some momentum, a decent job, a routine, some savings starting to build, and the world stops. COVID-19 killed over 1 million Americans and infected tens of millions more. But the economic damage hit young workers especially hard. Industries that employed the most 20-somethings, hospitality, retail, food service, entertainment, shut down first and opened back up last. In April 2020, the US unemployment rate hit 14.7%, the highest since the Great Depression. Millions of people lost jobs in weeks. You adapted. You always adapt. You worked from home or you couldn't work from home. You picked up new skills or you survived on savings that ran out faster than expected. You did what you had to do. But here's what the pandemic also did. It made you think. Stuck at home, away from the noise, a lot of people born in 1995 started asking real questions for the first time. Is this job actually what I want? Is this city where I want to live? Is this relationship real? What am I actually doing and why? The Great Resignation, where millions of people quit their jobs in 2021, wasn't laziness, it was clarity. People who had been running on autopilot finally stopped, looked around, and decided the path they were on wasn't their path. It was the path they were handed. Here's the truth that this whole video has been building toward. If you were born in 1995, almost every major decision in your life happened inside a system that wasn't designed with you in mind. The school you attended was designed for a 1950s economy. The college model you were sold was designed before tuition became what it is. The housing market you're trying to enter was shaped by policies made before you were born. The social media you're addicted to was engineered by people whose job is to keep you scrolling. You've been reacting to crashes, to pandemics, to markets, to expectations, to algorithms, to a checklist that someone else wrote. And the people who handed you that checklist, many of them bought homes when homes were cheap, went to college when it was affordable, got jobs when companies still offered pensions. Then they looked at your generation and said, "Why can't you just do what we did?" Because what you did doesn't exist anymore. The median home price in the US in 1990 was about $79,000. In 2023, it was $416,000. Wages didn't go up 5x, they barely moved. This isn't about blame, it's about honesty, because you can't fix a problem you've been told doesn't exist. Here's where it changes. Because yes, the system is real, the pressure is real, the debt is real, the comparison is real. But so is the fact that people born in 1995 are, right now, some of the most adaptable, resourceful, and self-aware people alive. You grew up during a crash. You built careers through a pandemic. You learned to do more with less because you had no choice. You questioned things your parents never questioned because you had to. More people in their late 20s and early 30s right now are building businesses, investing, learning new skills, leaving bad relationships, moving to better cities, saying no to jobs that don't fit, than any generation before them at this age. Not because life is easier, because you stopped pretending the old map still works and started drawing your own. The biggest thing you can take from this video is simple. Most of the pressure you feel isn't yours. The timeline isn't yours. The checklist isn't yours. Someone handed you a script for a life that was written for a different era. You don't have to follow it. Figure out what you actually want. Not what looks good on paper, not what your parents expect, not what Instagram suggests. What do you actually want your days to look like? Start there, build from there. Born in 1995, you came in at a complicated time. You grew up in a system that shaped you before you could think. You were pushed into debt at 18. You entered a tough job market. You survived a pandemic at 24. You've been compared, pressured, and told you're not doing enough. But you're still here, still figuring it out, still moving. And that's not nothing, that's actually a lot. The next video is already on your screen. Watch it, it connects directly to everything we just talked about.